Over on the Lady K Sailing Facebook page, I asked, what do you inspect first when you get on a used sailboat? And we got over 180 answers that might surprise you. But also, I want to know your answer because new boat shoppers are going to watch this and they need to know. The most obvious answer, especially because I used a picture of keel bolts, was keel bolts. A lot of people looked at the rusty nut and said, that's it, keel bolts first. And yes, keel bolts are important. They're holding a very heavy piece of ballast onto the bottom of the boat. Movement at the keel joint, cracked structure around the bolts, serious corrosion, water intrusion, or evidence of hard groundings can lead to major problems. But a rusty-looking nut all by itself doesn't tell the whole story. Surface rust is not the same thing as a failed keel bolt, and a shiny nut is also not proof that everything below is perfect. You need to consider the bolt, the surrounding structure, the bilge, the keel joint outside the boat if you can get the boat out of the water to inspect it, and any evidence that the keel has been moving. Smaller boats on a cradle, I'll shake them back and forth to see if the keel wiggles independent of the hull. A surprising number of people said they would never buy a boat with a bolt-on keel anyway. They only want encapsulated ballast or traditional full keel boats. That's a personal preference, of course, but a bolt-on keel's not automatically a bad design. Thousands of successful cruising and racing boats use external ballast. The real questions are whether the boat was designed and built properly, or maybe grounded hard, or repaired badly, or has been neglected for decades. Encapsulated ballast can have problems too. Grounding damage can be hidden and water can enter the laminate. There's no keel design that's surrounded by a magic force field, of course, so everything needs inspection. The second answer that appeared constantly was the bilge, and I think this one is one of the strongest answers in the discussion. The bilge is where many of the boat's secrets eventually report for duty. Water leaks end up in there, oil and coolant end up in there, rust trails and damaged wiring, neglected pumps, loose hoses, cracked tabbing, and sometimes the keel bolts themselves are all sitting in one relatively small area that's easy to inspect. A clean bilge doesn't necessarily guarantee a good boat. Somebody can clean it before showing, but a filthy bilge full of oily water or loose wires or dead pumps or mysterious sludge tells you something immediately. It suggests that the hidden parts of the boat may not have received as much attention as they deserve. Then we have the smell crowd, and there were more of those answers than I expected. They get on a new boat and immediately take a deep breath in through their nose. Mold, dampness, diesel, gasoline, sewage, and stale water can announce themselves before you open a single locker. The moment you step through the companionway, the boat gives you a first impression. Is it dry? Does it smell clean? Does it smell like somebody's trying to cover up a problem with half a bottle of Axe and an air freshener? Smell is not a diagnosis, but it is an early warning system. A musty boat tells you to look for leaks, wet cushions, damp wood, poor ventilation, or hidden mold. A diesel smell sends you toward the fuel system and engine space. A sewage smell tells you the sanitation system may be waiting with a financial ambush in mind. Those sanitation hoses over the years start to permeate and the smell gets out. Same thing with a lot of the tanks, and that's a big job. Another large group of answers said they begin on deck. Some walk the deck with their shoes on, others do it barefoot because they can feel soft spots better under their heels. They look around the stanchion bases and chain plates, the mast step, hatches, windows, and every fitting drilled through that deck. This is smart because wet deck core can become a very large job. In fact, it's why we write off the most amount of boats. One loose fitting that's leaked for years may affect a much larger area than a small stain that's visible inside would suggest. But the famous walk around and bounce on everything test has its own limits too. Not every change in feel means that the deck is rotten, and not every wet area will feel soft. It's a screening tool that tells you where closer investigation is going to be needed. The rigging and chain plates received plenty of votes too. Chain plates are especially important because the piece visible on deck may look fine, while the hidden section that passes through a wet deck or disappears behind cabinetry might need attention. Water staining, cracked sealant, corrosion, distorted metal, and damaged bulkheads all deserve attention too. Standing rigging itself matters for the same reason. A broken strand, a cracked fitting, a bent turnbuckle, or unknown replacement history can affect the safety of the entire rig. I also check to see if it's over adjusted and the turnbuckles are starting to bottom out, which means the mast is sagging. But I would hesitate to call the rig the universal first inspection because the boat may have larger structural problems before we ever get that far. A lot of people went straight to the engine, too. Electrical system, hoses, and through hulls. Those are all important. A rusty engine, improvised wiring, household connectors, cracked hoses, or frozen seacocks, or leaking tanks can signal expensive work ahead. But priorities matter. An engine can be replaced or repaired. Electronics and wiring can be replaced as well. None of this is cheap. But a badly damaged hull or failed structural grid or major deck saturation or serious keel problem can make the entire boat economically unreasonable. Don't let a shiny chart plotter or fresh battery bank or newly painted engine distract you from the structure. Cosmetic upgrades are easy for a seller to show off. The hidden structure is where the real story tends to live. One of my favorite groups of answers said the first thing they inspect is the owner. That sounds like a joke, but it may be some of the best advice we received. Look at the cockpit when you arrive. Are the lines organized? Are the lockers dry and reasonably neat? Does the owner know when the standing rigging was replaced, when the engine was last serviced, and what work has been completed? Ask for invoices, maintenance, the ship's log, previous surveys, and receipts for major equipment. If everything was replaced a few years ago, but the owner can't remember when or who did it or where the paperwork went, that doesn't automatically make the boat bad. It does mean you should place less confidence in the story you're getting. One person suggested opening a storage locker because it tells you a lot about the owner. Sellers prepare surfaces, but they rarely inspect the back of a locker, or space under a berth, or the wiring behind a panel. And the bottom of the bilge often reveals how the boat was actually maintained. There were also people who first looked to inspect whether the boat works for them at all. Can they move safely from the cockpit to the bow? Is there enough headroom? Do the berths fit? Is the draft suitable for their location? Does their partner like the layout? Can they reach all the winches and traveler and the controls while they're helming the boat? That matters because you can replace a pump or a hose or sails. You can't easily change the beam or the headroom or the draft or basic layout or the way the boat feels for you to use it. A mechanically sound boat that doesn't fit your needs is still the wrong boat. And then there were people who said the first thing they inspect is a survey. A professional survey and haul-out are extremely important once you're serious enough to make an offer. Insurance may require one, and an out-of-the-water inspection can reveal problems that you can't see while the boat's floating. But hire a surveyor as a first step doesn't replace your buyer's first inspection. Your first walkthrough is not supposed to certify the boat as seaworthy. It's supposed to decide whether the boat deserves more of your time and money. If you force me to pick one place to start, I'm a start on deck kind of guy. I'm walking the deck and squishing it beneath my feet. On my trip around the deck, I'm looking at rigging and chain plates. I'm watching for silicone, for dents and dings, checking for spinnaker gear because I like to go fast, checking the anchor roller, the furling drum condition, size and condition of the anchor locker while I'm up there. Every winch I walk past, I spin it to see if it's greased. I wiggle every stanchion and anything bolted down to see if it's loose. I think I have past trauma from wet deck core that makes me hyper aware of any issues on the top sides, so that's my go-to. A wet deck is a hard no for me, and I've been on boats I didn't even bother going inside because of it. So what do you look at? What do you inspect first? What's your first hard no? Leave it in the comments because some new boat shopper is going to come here and read them, and they need to know. Also, if you're a new boat shopper and you need help, check out the Practical Sailor website. Since 1974, Practical Sailor's been helping boat owners take care of their boats. There are thousands of resources there, so it's worth signing up for. And while you're here, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps us out, but also it lets YouTube know that you like sailboat videos, so it'll show you more of them. How cool is that? And hit subscribe so I can see you again next time.